but 2 or 3 more of those and feel like you're in a good position. A lot of time right now.
He's got it again. Purdy, decked, floating up there, and it's picked off. Kaiser White grabs it in midair, and the Cardinals are going to hang on.
Welcome back to your Valley Sports Plugs Arizona Cardinals recap for Game 5 of the 2024-2025 season. I'm Chris Patrick with Michael Benjamin, and we're here to break it all down for you. Week 5 saw your Arizona Cardinals on the road for the first of 2 meetings with the San Francisco 49ers. Still no Christian McCaffrey, but a tough matchup nonetheless. And boy, this was a wild one, folks. Bad breaks and wild turnovers for each team, but when the dust settled, your Arizona Cardinals shocked the world and got the narrow victory 24-23 over Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers. Mike, you had texted us right after the game ended and said, the season is alive. So what are your thoughts on this Week 5 win, man?
Chris, a stunner, a shocker, and a damn victory Monday for the first time since 2021 against those damned San Francisco 49ers. And add on top 2-0 against the division. Our heads might have been hanging low after the second quarter. And come on, I mean, how could it not? The Chad Ryland field goal block, the first return for a touchdown against the Cardinals since 1972. And then Nick Bosa subconsciously ducking down behind Kelvin Beachum for that INT. Ooh, both mistakes after this team were driving to put up points. And the swing puts you down by 13 going into the locker room. And then you come out on the first possession, go backwards, and go 3 and out. But the Arizona Cardinals went back to their roots down the stretch and came back to the identity of this football team. James Conner and a punishing ground game, which opens up your attack. It also helps when Kyler gets the Niners' season's worth of rushing yards allowed to QBs, basically in one play on that beautiful zone read. But let's be honest here, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm more than happy to be honest, this game was won by the defense. Another second half shutout. Incredible. They were able to control Brandon Ayuk for the most part in the second half. They had young guns making plays like Dadrian Taylor-Demerson, making a big open field tackle and blasting Kittle on that 4th down with Buddha. You got Jesse Luketa getting the call up and forcing that fumble on Jordan Mason with the flying fist. 3 second half turnovers after Brock Purdy had 8 touchdowns with no turnovers in his career against Arizona because they're showing different pressure packages and making them count down the stretch. And yes, we know the Jake Moody's injury proves serious as it forces the Niners to go for it on 4th and 23 when they're in field goal range. But what a far cry from last week. Hopefully showing that the Commanders' whomping was an outlier, right, Chris? And the fight and finish of a resilient squad is what this fan base can only hope to ask for. But Chris, I got one more cherry on top here. Can we give some love to Michael Wilson yet? I mean, 80% catch radius consistency. It's beautiful to see tall receivers with the ability to truly make jump ball catches, right? Same goes for Marvin, and their time is coming. If you can't feel that, then you're not watching. But I got some awesome stats here. This was actually Kyle Shanahan's 6th regular season or playoff loss when leading by 10 points in the 4th quarter, tying John Harbaugh. But they were 38-0 when entering the 4th quarter with a 10-point lead in the Shanahan era. So put it down for 38-1. Hell of a win in a hot Santa Clara climate, but now it's time to capitalize in Lambeau.
Yeah, Mike, you nailed it. We have to keep the momentum going into next week. Can't hang all of our laurels on one victory. It's all about moving on to the next, which is what they did after that massive whooping we took to Washington. I loved the solid opening drive. It seems like this team and the coaching staff is learning week to week. They got Kyler going with his legs in this game, 83 yards on the ground. Of course, 50 of that coming on just one play. The first quarter, I hate to focus on it, but it was a bit of a bumpy start after that first drive. The defense came out giving up big chunk plays early. Brandon Ayuk had 90 yards on 4 receptions in just the first quarter, and they really had a tough time containing Brock Purdy throughout the game. He was able to use his legs, scramble out, and extend plays. But ultimately, what I think I would diagnose it as is that the Cardinals were expecting them to pound it with Mason early, and instead they came out passing. But the defense stayed the course and obviously were able to get the job done. And it was just a tough way to end the half. You had that blocked field goal for a touchdown, the pick to Bosa on the screen that resulted in a field goal. It really could have been and maybe should have been much closer at halftime. But we went into the locker room and came out in the second half with a solid game plan. I loved the Elijah Higgins toe tap in the back of the end zone. It gave them the momentum they needed without a doubt. And call it a lucky break if you want. But with the 49ers in the red zone inside the 10-yard line, for Mason to give up that fumble turned the tide completely. And last, I have to agree, Mike, the Cardinals stuck to a balanced attack and didn't give up on the run, which made the 49ers use up all their timeouts in that last drive before they kicked the game-winning field goal. Just a stellar performance all around, and the perseverance for them coming off an ugly loss to finish this game is what you really want to see. So, Mike, here in week 5, after a beautiful win, I think it's only appropriate that we bring back the player of the recap. So I'll send it to you first. Who are you taking?
Chris, plenty of game balls could have gone out for this one once again. Obviously, our guy, James Conner, huge second half. The fill-in kicker, Chad Ryland, for having the resiliency to come out and boot through that game-winning field goal. But like I said, this game was won by the defense, and I'm giving out one game ball to one specific guy. I'm going back to week 1, Chris. It's linebacker Mack Wilson Sr. 6 total tackles, a pass defense, a fumble recovery, and an interception. I would give it to the defense as a whole, but when you get 2 turnovers, you get the nod. But like we said, shout out Jesse Luketa, and a big shout out to Kaiser White sealing it away with that floater pick. It was beautiful. It was something special. I jumped out of my seat, Chris, and I know a lot of Arizona Cardinals fans did too. But this is what I was hoping to see, the tandem of Kaiser White and Mack Wilson Sr. It hasn't been perfect, but the dividends are starting to pay off. And man, huge shout out to the entire linebacking core, but I'm going with Mack Wilson Sr. this time. Chris, who do you got this week?
Mike, I love the pick, and you're absolutely right. This was a full team effort on Sunday and really could have gone to a number of guys. But I'm going to take a guy on the other side of the ball, a very familiar face to player of the recap, and that's our guy, Kyler Murray. K1, QB1, just an absolute step-up performance from that huge 50-yard touchdown run to start the game. I cannot reference it enough. He called his shot like Babe Ruth, pointing to the end zone from like the 40-yard line. He was only about 10 yards into that run. It was huge. He showed some frustration after that interception to Nick Bosa, but he didn't give up and he didn't implode. You can tell he's hard on himself and has high expectations. But a Kyler Murray 2 or 3 years ago might have reacted differently and could have changed the trajectory of the game. But what is it for me to say? I just think he's really starting to show that leadership and maturity that we've all been waiting for. And of course, I have to mention it again, that touchdown to Elijah Higgins, faking the QB run, kind of toe tapping, showing the patience, throwing that pass in a little bit high, but not out of reach for Higgins, and we got the points. Just absolutely stellar performance all around. But Kyler Murray, man, we need more games like this from you, so make sure you keep it up. And he's going to have a chance to show us what he can do in week 6. The Arizona Cardinals will stay on the road and travel east to take on the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field in Wisconsin. The kickoff is slated for 10 a.m. Arizona time. So make sure you set your alarm clocks and get up early. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to keep bringing you weekly recaps of the Arizona Cardinals every week this season. So make sure you like and subscribe so you can stay up to date on all the Valley Sports and Arizona Cardinals action. For Michael Benjamin, I'm Chris Patrick. And we'll see you next time. Peace.
Cardinals fans, it's time to stand in